this will turn out okay because the weather has been so terrible. I haven't had a chance to get the next part done. The Jesse James series, where we left off, was in Centralia, Missouri, and Major A.V. Johnston had just talked to the people, and the witnesses there said they saw Jesse James kill 7 of the soldiers that were lined up. And then after that, they had warned him that when he goes to the farm 4 miles south of Centralia, that there would be a rather large group that he'd be confronting, and it could end up being a problem. So anyway, he took off to confront Bloody Bill Anderson's group. And I'll give you a little background. Since Bloody Bill Anderson, like I said before, was one of the lieutenants of Clark Quantrill, he learned a lot of really successful fighting techniques in battle, among them being, I don't know if he invented any of these, but Clark Quantrill sure perfected them. It was the technique of, instead of relying on long guns, which you had to reload one shot at a time, for the most part, that's the only kind of muskets and rifles a lot of the men could afford or were supplied to them. What he did, since he wanted his men to be more successful, is he had them use butt-line revolvers. That's a revolver with an extra long barrel, and they would carry 2 of them, and that would give them 12 shots at the enemy, and they could be pretty much as successful as a rifle. They couldn't reach out quite as far, but if you figured the Union troops were usually gathered together in a group, if you just fired in the general direction, you were pretty much going to hit somebody. Plus, you had the pauses in the action. When a guy shot at you with a rifle, he had at least 30 seconds as he was reloading before he could even fire again. So that was one of the techniques. Another one of the techniques that Quantrill taught was having horses for your escape. You would have relay horses, so if you were setting an ambush for someone, and especially the Union Army, they had to ride up and stay with the same horses. So if they were to give chase, you could get ahead for a little while with your fresh horses and then switch and get another set of fresh horses and just continue on. So you would always be able to outrun them. So what he did was he set up an ambush, and when Major Johnston's men got in sight of a group of the guys that they believed belonged to Bill Anderson's group, they were actually meant to see these guys. It was a small group that were used to cause them to give chase, to lead them into an ambush where Bloody Bill Anderson's group was ready and waiting. And it was an ambush site where the Major's troops were surrounded on 3 sides, and what they did is they fought old style. They actually got off their horses and had a few guys left behind to tend the horses, and then all 165 men, minus a few tending the horses, marched in to take on Bloody Bill Anderson's group. Well, since it was an ambush, obviously, and they were surrounded on 3 sites and the guerrillas were hiding under cover, it turned out to be quite a slaughter, really. And after the first barrage of gunfire, basically the Union troops were just running every which way, the ones that were left alive, and scattered all about and just trying to get out of the hail of gunfire, because they were severely outmatched, not just in numbers, because they were outnumbered by Bill Anderson's 225 men, but they were way outgunned too. So it ended up being, at the end of the fight, Bloody Bill only lost 3 of his men, and along with Major Johnston, who was killed, there was only 12 of his men left alive at the end of the battle. So I think had he heeded the warning of the people in Centralia that they were up against a little bit of a bigger fight than what they were able to handle. They probably could have either called in for some reinforcements or gathered up some extra help, maybe as far as conscripting some people for militia or something like that. It might have at least turned out a little bit better, but as it ends up too, a while later in the future, Bloody Bill Anderson ends up having his own tactics used against him, or actually I should say Clark Quantrill's tactics. The same tactics he used to win this battle actually were used against him when he was killed, and I'll get into that later. But my next part, I will take a break from the timeline, and a friend of mine, Bob 54 Shadow, went out to the James farm and took some video pictures and got some postcards too. So what I'll do is I will start showing you pictures of the various things, and I'll talk about some of the stories of the family farm, and maybe share a couple of the tall tales that Jesse James' mom used to tell to the visitors to the farm when they would come out. So thanks a lot. I'm glad you guys are really enjoying this as I'm doing it. It's bringing back a lot of memories, and as a matter of fact, like I've told a few people in PMs, I've never seen a movie or a TV show about Jesse James, and I've never read a book about him. This is basically my memories as best as I can remember it, and I do go online to check the facts to make sure I haven't gotten stories screwed up, because two of the stories that I have told up until now, I actually got the facts backwards in them, but I was able to straighten it out, because this is the memory, remembering as a young kid being told a lot of these things. So I've checked to make sure that I'm as accurate as possible with the stuff that is actually known. So I've probably gone on long enough, so take care everybody, and I will talk to you in the next part.